Welcome to my Nohrian Dusk banner breakdown. Today we have 4 new units being added to the permanent summoning pool. They are Ophelia, Nina, Silas, and Flora. We'll be talking about their stats, any new weapons or skills they may have, and then I'll cover some builds you might want to consider if you do summon these units. Timestamps are on screen and let's get started. Ophelia is Odin's daughter, and I'm sure as you can see, she takes after him quite a bit. Like her father, Ophelia is a blue infantry mage with 38 HP, a massive 37 attack, 33 speed, 20 defense, and 23 resistance. She is pretty much what Odin could have been if you shaved off points from his HP, defense, and res stats and shoved all of them into his attack, plus more. Ophelia is the new queen of highest attack for blue mages, and she even has a plus attack super boon, which means she can potentially start off with 41 attack. Unlike her father, Ophelia needs no help to do tons of damage. She is definitely a more offensive mage, and 33 speed is just slightly above average, and it can definitely be usable if you want to focus on improving her speed. With 38 HP, 20 defense, and 23 resistance, Ophelia can take a physical or magical hit if she has to, but don't expect her to be tanking multiple attacks in a row. Before we move on to her new skills, I just want to touch up on her other skills in her base kit. Blazing Light is an AoE special, and it's the stronger variant that doesn't have as high of a spread. AoE specials are definitely a good choice with Ophelia's weapon. Her A skill is Sturdy Blow. The attack part is fine, but the extra defense is a bit odd to see on a mage. That being said, if Ophelia has to take a physical hit, then that 4 extra defense could make sure she survives a hit, even from high attack enemies. Chill Res is her B skill, and kind of like Lilina, Ophelia is going to be doing a ton of damage, even if you have a magical tank. One of the reasons I like Ophelia is that in my playthrough of Conquest, she had one of the highest crit rates for a mage I've ever seen, and of course that just meant she was a lot of fun to use in game. Her tome Missiletainn definitely brings that high crit rate attribute into heroes. Missiletainn grants -1 special cooldown, which is the standard slaying or killer effect. But at the start of turn 1, Ophelia herself gets extra -1 special cooldown for every mage ally on your own team, including Ophelia herself. What that means is that Ophelia basically has her own infantry pulse or quicken pulse type effect. If you only have one mage on your team, being Ophelia herself, then she gets another -1 special cooldown. If you have 2 mages, including Ophelia, then it's -2 special cooldown. 3 mages total equals -3 special cooldown. Take Ophelia's default special skill, Blazing Light, as an example. It has a 4-turn cooldown normally, which turns into 3 turns thanks to Missiletain's slang effect. If Ophelia were to have 2 mage allies, then that equals 3 mages total, which means Blazing Light is immediately ready to proc. You can see this example in action in the story map for this chapter. Missiletainn is pretty crazy, and you don't have to run a high cooldown special either. Run Moonbow or Glimmer, and Ophelia literally charges them up by herself. Builds should definitely concentrate on getting whatever special she uses ready on turn 1, and she can absolutely abuse the new special Spiral skill on the last banner. Ophelia brings a new assist skill to the game, and it's a variant of the rally skills called Rally Up Plus. More specifically, she has Rally Up Attack Plus. Use this skill on an allied target to grant them +6 attack, and also grant +6 attack to allies within 2 spaces of the target for 1 turn. So yeah, dual rally plus skills weren't enough, now we have AoE rally skills too. It's definitely a cool skill since it gives you different options for aerial effect buffing other than the tactic skills. I don't think it will be overly powerful because you still have to waste an action buffing, but if you have a team who say really likes more attack, then Rally Up Plus Attack gives you the option to buff multiple members. It can even allow you to buff allies who may be out of your unit's range since the AoE effect comes off the target ally. It's a cool assist skill, and if you have an unwanted Ophelia, then inheriting it is an option. With so many skills in her base kit, Ophelia can work without really needing to add anything else. Missiletain's entire playstyle is getting special ready immediately at the start of a fight. If you don't want to run 3 mages on a team, which is understandable, then Quicken Pulse can replace one of those mages. With Ophelia, 1 other mage ally, and the Quicken Pulse seal, it's enough to fully charge Blazing Light because it's a 3-turn special thanks to Missiletain's slang effect. Blazing Light powered by 55 attack is pretty darn scary, and obviously you want to give Ophelia much more attack buffs if you can. If you continue using Rally Up Attack Plus, then I actually think Ophelia can use tactic skills herself to provide more AoE buffs. She could even use double tactic skills, and with Rally Up Attack Plus, she can buff 3 stats to multiple teammates. Now, Ophelia and Missiletainn are literally made to go with Special Spiral. If you were able to get Lewin on the last banner, which is still available for another week, I think it's a strong skill to consider giving to Ophelia. Missiletainn allows Ophelia to charge any 2-turn special on the first turn because it has the slaying effect, and it grants that extra -1 cooldown on turn 1 for Ophelia as a mage. She doesn't even need any other mage allies on the team, and something like Glimmer can continuously be procced over and over and over because Special Spiral reduces cooldown by -2 after combat when a special is used. This combo is pretty ridiculous, and Ophelia's very high base attack makes her a great candidate for one-shot builds. You can also use Special Spiral with AoE specials, but you're going to need those extra mages on the team to fully charge them by turn 1. It's the same concept that Ares can do with Dark Missiletainn, but Ophelia can potentially have her special ready at the start of combat, while Ares will need to charge his special first up through battle. Moving on, our next unit is Nina, who is Naus's daughter. Like her father, she is a colorless infantry archer. She has 35 HP, 32 attack, 37 speed, 16 defense, and 31 resistance. For record keeping, Nina ties for fastest archer in the colorless group, but she has the highest attack out of Summer Gaius and Setsuna, making her the better offensive choice. Nina is definitely going to be a good archer if you lack a more offensive one. With 31 resistance, she can fight mages decently well too, but definitely make sure she doesn't get hit by physical attacks. She can be one-shot by physical damaging units with only 51 attack. Before we discuss the new skills she brings to the game, Nina comes with Drawback and Moonbow, both which are perfectly fine for an archer. Bow Valor grants double SP to bow allies, but it doesn't do anything in actual combat, so probably going to want to replace that after you train her up. Nina's new weapon is an inheritable bow called the Shining Bow Plus. It has 12 might, and its special effect adds +7 damage per attack if the enemy's defense stat is 5 points higher than the res stat. Now this is +7 true damage, and it's basically the same effect as Leaf's Lightbrand sword. You should know that if the condition is met, the +7 damage is automatically added to the damage preview. So if it says Nina will do 27 damage to an enemy whose defense is 5 higher than their res, it actually means Nina is doing 20 damage through normal damage calculations, and the +7 is already being added in. So with weapons that have a similar effect, the main goal is to be able to double as much as possible. If Nina can hit an enemy 2 times and proc the effect, then that's 14 extra damage being added, which is pretty crazy. It's a good thing she has a high base speed to start with. Nina's B skill is Speed and Resistance Link. It's a new variant of the Link skills, and if you're not familiar, then it grants +6 speed and resistance to Nina and an ally if she or that ally use a movement assist skill on each other. It's a field buff, and Nina's 2 best stats are her speed and resistance, so it's nice for her. It's a good tool if you want her to bait an enemy, and the extra speed can be really good for offensive moves too. Using Shining Bow and Speed and Resistance Link, you can build for either player phase or enemy phase depending on what you want. Something like Swift Sparrow would be really nice to boost Nina's offensive capabilities, and Shining Bow's extra damage can be substantial if she can double. Nina has to be careful when attacking physical damaging units, so she can use Attack Ploy to try and lower their attack beforehand, or she can use something like Steady Blow, which still provides speed, but also a little extra defense. If you aren't a fan of the Link type skills, then Desperation is a fine offensive option. Nina can kind of follow in her father's footsteps and run a decent enemy phase build for taking mages. Speed and Resistance Link plus Distant Defense provides so much extra resistance, and Nina can run a Slaying Bow with an Iceberg to retaliate with huge damage procs. Glacies is another option as well, but Nina will lose a large amount of resistance if she does not proc all of her skills. Her A skill can be anything that boosts stats such as Attack and Res Bond or a stance skill. It's just whatever you feel like Nina needs more of. Next up is Silas, who joins you in both Birthright and Conquest when playing Fates. He basically is Khorne's long-lost childhood friend from what I can remember. Silas is a Lance Cavalier and has 40 HP, 35 attack, 24 speed, 36 defense, and 21 resistance. He is very much geared up for physical melee combat, and is actually kind of similar to Oppercut stat-wise. For his base kit, Silas is pretty simple. He has a Slaying Spear, which is a stronger version of the Heavy Spear. Despite its name, it does not grant a special cooldown reduction. His assist is Reposition, which is great on Cavaliers, and his A skill is Steady Stance. Steady Stance grants +6 defense when defending against an attack, and just this alone puts Silas over 40 defense. Silas' C skill is Even Defense Wave. The wave skills buff the user and adjacent allies with +6 field buffs, but only on odd or even numbered turns. For Silas, he can stack Even Defense Wave with Steady Stance, putting him at 48 defense when defending on even numbered turns. It's pretty simple, and Silas doesn't bring anything complicated to the table other than just stacking defense. For builds, Silas comes with so much natural ways to boost his defense that all he really needs is Quick Riposte, and you can call it a day. His naturally high attack and high defense play well into enemy phase quick riposte builds, and he already has steady stance and even defense wave to buff his defense to insane levels. Add the close defense Sacred Seal and Silas just becomes a monster of a physical wall, able to reach over 50 defense when attacked. At this point, you should just be fine the Slaying Spear with the buff neutralization effect against armor units, since that can help stop hone or fortify armor buffs. Give him Bonfire and Silas can proc it on his second quick riposte hit if he gets doubled, and with over 50 defense, he should have no problem KOing a ton of units. Ignis is another option as well. As I mentioned, Silas is pretty similar to UPPERCUT stat wise, so why not take his lance as well? By just changing his weapon, Silas can still keep his sky high defensive stat, but also get a huge resistance boost as well. A UPPERCUT's lance with a res refine adds 11 resistance when defending against attacks, and with it, Silas can fight dragon units. He loses his effectiveness against armor units, but gains more staying power against magical threats. Ideally, Silas could use double close defense skills for maximum res boosting power against dragons, but his natural steady stance is a fine option. Silas is pretty obviously a simple unit, and while he doesn't have anything flashy, he easily fits into the role of a physical wall for Lance Cavaliers. Last but not least, we have Flora, who is Felicia's sister if you couldn't tell. She is a dagger infantry unit, but she is at least a red dagger to spice things up. I can't believe we have a permanent summon colored dagger before a non-legendary hero colored archer. Jeez. Flora has 38 HP, 34 attack, 23 speed, 18 defense, and a monstrous 38 resistance. She has more HP and resistance than her sister, but that's because Flora is going to get doubled by a ton of units thanks to that 23 base speed stat. Every dagger unit has at least 31 base speed except for Flora and the recent Dancing Xander. There's a good reason for that, but we'll have to explore her unique legendary weapon to find out why. Before we dive in, keep in mind she has Iceberg, quick riposte, and defense ploy to fill out the rest of her base kit. Alright, so Flora's unique weapon is called Hoarfrost Knife, and the description for it is ridiculously long. So long that I have a whole slide for it. There are multiple parts to this weapon, so pay attention. First off, Hoarfrost Knife grants special cooldown count -1, aka it's a slaying dagger just like Kaze's barbed shuriken. Next, if Flora initiates combat against an enemy with a sword, lance, axe, or dragonstone, she gets defense plus 20 during combat. That is not a typo, it is literally plus 20 defense, which puts her at 38 defense. The next part is a continuation. So if Flora initiates combat against a melee enemy, and that melee enemy can counterattack, then Flora gets a guaranteed follow-up attack. Basically, that means any distant counter unit as well as dragons with lightning breath or the Grimas and their distant counter weapons. Hoarfrost Knife is trying to patch up the weakness of ranged units against distant counter users, which is that if they don't kill them, they potentially get one shot on the counterattack. Flora getting plus 20 defense means her low 18 defense is saved from being one shot, and since it puts her at 38 defense, which is the same as her 38 resistance, she won't be losing any extra damage to the adaptive damage effect from Dragon Breaths. On top of all of that, she gets a follow-up attack too, which is good because her speed is pretty garbage. Effect number 3 is just the standard dagger debuffing effect of -7 defense and resistance, nothing new there. So against ranged units, Flora just has a slaying dagger. She'll do fine against mages with her 38 resistance, but will struggle against archers and other dagger users since the extra plus 20 defense only works against melee units. She is also slow, so she will be doubled a lot, but that's why she has quick riposte. Flora has 2 ways to get follow-up attacks despite her low speed stat. Where Hoarfrost Knife starts to shine is against melee distant counter users. The plus 20 defense keeps her alive, and with the follow-up attack, she can proc Iceberg on her second attack. Remember that Flora is a red dagger, meaning high defense green units like Hector may not be so invincible against her. While I don't know just how effective Flora is going to be, especially in Arena, at least she brings something new to the table. While Hoarfrost Knife has a lot going on, Flora also has a completely new type of A skill that I think is worth inspecting. Attack and Resistance Solo 3 grants the user plus 6 attack and res as long as they are not adjacent to any ally. Alright, so these new solo skills essentially are the counterpart to the bond type skills. You don't want to be next to the team, but you get a huge stat boost that can be used both on the player phase and the enemy phase. I think it's better suited for the player phase since generally you have to move away from your team to make an offensive attack. Even on the enemy phase, you can still support a unit with drive type skills or tactic buffs, since those work up to 2 spaces away. I've read that solo skills are inheritable by healers, so yeah, we just need to wait for attack and speed version to give to your favorite razzle dazzle healers. I think these solo skills are definitely going to be used a lot, so keep watch for more variants in the future. If I'm going to be completely honest, Flora doesn't seem to have many options other than what she comes with. She fills a new odd niche with a ton of attack for a physical range red unit. I think if you can activate attack and resistance solo, then she can definitely one-shot squishy green mages or squishy green units in general. However, I don't think she will outright one-shot a green unit with say more than 30 defense without a follow-up attack and maybe an iceberg proc too. She is naturally doubling nobody, and Hoarfrost Knife only grants the follow-up attack against distant counter units. I mean, in Arena, distant counter is everywhere, so I'm sure it will be useful there, but if Flora can't get her follow-up attacks, then I think you are just better off with a red mage like Lilina instead. I have no idea if Flora absolutely needs quick repose, but to get more utility out of her, you could use a 2-turn special like Moonbow to always proc it on the counterattack, since Hoarfrost does bring its cooldown down to 1. Replacing quick repose with something like Axe Breaker or Sword Breaker skills give Flora's follow-up attacks against non-distant counter melee units, so at least she can be a bit more potent there. Flora is definitely an odd unit. Dagger units are generally all decently fast. Again, the exceptions are Flora and Hoshiden Festival Xander, who both just recently released. Personally, I'm not super confident about Flora, and I would have to play around with her to get a better understanding of how she plays. If you have already summoned Flora, then I'd love to hear your first impressions on her as a unit. I don't think she is bad, but she definitely is set up for a specific niche, and outside of that niche, I think she may struggle a bit too much. In summary, Ophelia is a blue mage whose Missiletainn can and should set up instant turn 1 specials, although she does require a bit of team building setup. Nina is a fast archer who can deal good damage with her shining bow, and has speed and resistance link to use for either offensive or defensive maneuvers. Silas is a super simple defense stacking Lance Cavalier, and his base kit sets him up perfectly for this role. On the contrast, Flora is a new red dagger unit that has a niche in fighting distant counter units. I'm personally unsure of how well she will perform, but I do think she brings a very different take on what the dagger class usually consists of. This video has gone on long enough, but let me know what your thoughts are on any of these units in the comments, and good luck summoning for them. I'll be looking to try and get Ophelia myself, but I need to go farm more orbs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.